Thursday's edition of the Christ Disciples Baptist Church of Chicago's Midday Meditation. I'm Wilson. I'm happy to be joined by my brother, my big brother in the ministry and also in life, uh, Pastor Antoine L. Taylor. What up, bro?
Put the L in there, huh?
Put
What's
the
up, Pastor
L in,
Wilson?
put the L in there. Let them know it's only one.
We're not taking no L's tonight.
None of that. None of that. None of that. So listen, we're gonna jump right in for our listening audience to get to know you and to get to know you in a new and a fresh way. So, how long have you been a believer, and where does your faith journey begin?
I began with great grandma, who raised me from a infant to her passing at 13. It was a brief interruption in faith from my perspective, where I swore off God from the age of 13 to right before graduation in college, where one of my fraternity brothers, Dana Carter, brought me to New Zion because I was seeking a job and losing faith and hope. And from there, the bridge from 13 to 24 um, was eclipsed, and went from there. Met some wonderful persons, including yourself and your brother David or Pastor Triplet. So those things, relationships, help to cement and further the faith because we iron sharpens iron. And again, that journey, to my recall and my desire, was to end at the deacon board. How I got into preaching, I don't know. I
Yeah,
do know.
yeah. I think we know, and we're gonna unpack that a little bit more. But so, tell me about that 11-year period. I mean, it sounds like you had a really close relationship with your grandmother, and her passing. It sounds like it was tragic, or at least not expected. And so, just share a little bit how that grief impacted your faith walk, and you can be as real as you want to be, but I'm curious as to how that grief set in. Like, what were some of the things that were going through your mind at that time? I mean, 13 years old, right? You're adolescent, you're a preteen, you're a teen.
Yeah.
Like, how did that impact you, and how did that shape your worldview at that age?
Well, knowing what I know now versus then, the naivety that God was a genie, um, asking him to spare my great grandmother. She had lung cancer.
Hmm.
That was in '87. Um, so right when I was about to graduate from eighth grade.
Yeah.
So she actually passed 2 days after my birthday.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
so at that time, she was all I knew, with respect to care and concern. So I swore off God. I was angry with God, like what and never shared this part with anybody. So my naivety, not only with the workings of God, when she passed, I actually tried to kill myself by taking 13 aspirin. It wasn't it? I didn't have a headache, but
Yeah.
that was something that I experienced. That I was left alone by my mother and that was my great grandmother who raised me. But
Okay.
so when I found out she had passed, and so that was a very climactic. So God didn't let that affect me, but I did swear off church and religion and up for that time period. So
Yeah. Yeah, understandably so. I mean, so 2 days after your birthday, how do
mhm.
you process that currently? I would imagine. I mean, it sounds like it left a scar, and so I'm wondering if when your birthday rolls around and that day comes, like, how do you reflect on that day currently?
As I've gotten older, I used to try to live birthdays to the fullest. We aging out. Friends have moved to Texas, and but I still have good friends here. It's just another day, and I can see, or others see, my great grandmother and me, through my cooking, my desire to cook, or just trying to be an overall good natured guy because she's from Arkansas. She was very couldn't read, so but she had a heart of gold, had a temper to match, but she she instilled a lot in me. So
Okay.
birthdays roll around. It's not depressing. Again, it's another day in the grand scheme of it. God left me here to for work something. It's something for me to do.
Yeah. So it sounds like cooking was a connection there and something that resonated with you through her. And you say your great grandmother, right? So this big
Yep,
mom.
great grandma.
So
Yeah, it's a big one.
tell me what are some of the meals or dishes that she made that imprinted on you that either you now make with your own twist or you try to replicate the way she did it.
Salmon croquettes. So that was one of our favorite meals. She did salmon croquettes and rice. Um, so with me, she never did like red onions, or she always did sweet onions or green onions.
Okay.
She taught me sage in them. She never used cornmeal. I know some people use cornmeal with flour, but I add green pepper. I might add a little bit of, in some instances, a little bit of habanero peppers, and I bake them instead of doing a pan fry again. Getting
Okay.
old, man, can't that cholesterol. So cooking spray. So I do it that way. As opposed to how she did it. Everything she did was, fried. I mean,
Okay.
you had lard, shortened.
Yeah,
So
man.
that's
Yeah,
how she cooked.
that can of lard.
Yeah, cut on
That
stove,
like
that Crisco.
stove.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
man.
that's one of the differences. A good Southern dinner: roast chicken, beans, yams, mac and cheese, hot water cornbread. And then she'll make a dessert. She'll do peach cobbler. I can do peach cobbler better than my auntie now, so I'm perfecting my peach cobbler. But I also take my cooking to some exotic stuff, some Italian cream cake, or I do stuff like that to really just have a variety in repertoire.
Yeah, you can tell that's the Arkansas way of cooking salmon croquettes, or at least pairing it with the rice. My family from the SIP, so we did salmon croquettes with biscuits and syrup. But
Molasses,
yeah, that Alaga. You remember that Alaga syrup?
that thick syrup. See, grandma did the sugar syrup. The base
Okay.
for rock candy, water and sugar. You boil it, but you don't never let it solidify.
Yeah, we
And
made that
get
homemade
the
syrup
church
too.
butter.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's what's up, bro. That's what's up. So you and I met, and thank you for sharing, man. I appreciate you for sharing that candidly. So you and I met, and we met in college, right?
Yep.
And we quickly we quickly learned a number of connections that we had between the two of us. For example, you mentioned your frat, Dana Carter, who is somebody I grew up with at New Zion at church. So what, if any, impact has your affiliation with the Divine Nine had on your life?
Um,
And I guess
Prior to
in the context, we met in the basement of the.
Raskella, yeah, basement. And we was having an illegal party. We was supposed to have step practice, and we partied till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. The walls were sweating.
Yeah, man, those were good times. It was good times on
Oh
campus.
yeah, we had a ball. We had a ball, man. But being in a frat, then coming to faith, um, it my affiliation had little impact to the faith, because the faith impacted the connection fraternally. Because again, not being my own and representation, it actually created conflict.
Hmm.
I firmly believe that God doesn't change who you are per se; He just tempers you. So trying to live up to one motif, being in the church, versus anchor blackout, being in the frat, was always a conflict, almost a schizophrenic personality. I've learned to accept who I am, and with temperance in the latter years, and just be the same person where I'm at, and that includes if I'm having a beverage. I'm still who I am.
Yeah.
And if the call would arise while having a beverage, that beverage would go to the wayside, because God's agenda comes first.
Yeah. All right. Help us, those of us who are not frat or sorority and may not understand the concept of anchor. We understand there is a line. Generally, there's a line, but then I take it there are different positions on the line. So let's talk about the position or the role of the anchor as it relates to the line.
Everybody else on the line should really thank the anchor, because they can't make it without the anchor. So, there really ain't no other position
Okay.
for all the captains that might be listening. But basically, the anchor is not the one who can take the most punishment. The anchor is the one that keeps the boat as in the stormy, rocky sea. You drop anchor so the ship doesn't get destroyed. Anchor holds it there so until it gets calm. So it's not about a physical test. It's more a mental and a test of the heart. When you're the anchor, at least in the Midwest, it can differ in the South because it gets called the tail down there and they go by height. But here it's by the heart.
Okay.
What do you bring to the boat that's going to anchor it, solidify it, and keep it steady when things are all rocky, shaky, people throwing tree limbs at you and everything like that. So you got to keep it steady.
So is that
The anchor cannot let the boat fail.
You said an anchor can what?
The anchor can never let the boat fail.
Okay.
Can't do it.
Now, is that a role that's assigned to you, or is it like family dynamics that people kind of their personalities and their interactions with others that you kind of fall into some of these roles, and then it's like, oh, well, this is the role you're playing. Now the title goes along with it, or is it the title first and then you fill into that role?
No, it's it's kind of earned. They look at your personality, you look at what you're bringing. It's a lot of randomization for the first few weeks on the line. People get moved constantly, and then the line about the third or fourth week kind of solidifies, and then that's where you are. But they haven't seen enough of your character and what you bring to the table to really that position that you don't earn a title per se until you cross. So
okay, all right. Appreciate you for the tutelage for those of us
no problem.
the uninitiated. For the uninitiated,
call it GDIs, man. GDIs.
All right,
we're not going to unpack that all of you.
No. I'm gonna let you hold that one. We say that one for another day. All right,
Yeah,
so
right.
So understanding you are active in public ministry, but you also have a vocation and a career. So how do you earn a living?
I do IT, project management currently for the county. So it's always been an IT. Got a degree from University of Illinois at Chicago, got a degree in information systems and a degree in finance. My journey was to take me to really be an investment banker here in New York. If you want to be honest with it, going to be the Wolf of Wall Street from the west side of Chicago, but the Lord had different plans for me. So I've always been in IT related positions.
How many years you got in the game?
20.
Okay.
20 years, man.
All right.
No, yeah, 20 plus actually.
Now you and I both have had the awesome privilege of pastoring a local congregation as the lead pastor. And in those experiences, you and I also had and encountered some challenging, difficult times while pastoring local congregations. What, if anything, did those experiences reveal to you about yourself?
I think it's something you said at my installation, something that the people needed from me and something I needed to get from the people. That was something that resonated at my installation. The discovery of self, and, really listening for God, because again, I wasn't there for any gain, really listening to God's orders in terms of what to tell the people, how to really act, constantly creating an environment where you care more for the people despite their antics, despite their words, and still going forth into what God called you to do. That was hard, man.
Yeah,
A lot of times you wanted to choke the hell out of a couple people, quite honestly, because again, they don't care if you pastor. You know, they big enough, bad enough to say whatever they want to say, and lucky they never put the hands. But it's just that you got to came into church a lot of times with a headache and left with a headache. It
yeah,
was the pressure, not the pressure of performing the office, but dealing with the people, and have to deal with these difficult people that are still the Lord's.
yeah.
Can't call down fire and consume them. Can't throw them on the cross. You got to love them anyway. Maybe not so close because they might shank you, but you got to still love them and still pray for them and let the Lord deal with them as He sees fit.
Yeah, that part. It's the proverbial saying, hurt people, right? And
Yeah.
you're there and you're trying to serve as a conduit of healing. And to your point, they trying to shank you. Why you trying to mend? You trying to mend wounds. They trying to create new ones for you. Some of them, not all of them,
Yeah.
some of them, and it definitely can present a very unique experience in that. How was your faith challenged during the process?
I couldn't believe that the Lord would have me dealing with these ninjas, and still have and giving me a message to say to them every week,
Yeah.
because I was ready to say the hell with them, and I wasn't gonna show up. But it kept resonating. Like, here go what I want you to say this week. Go show up and just say your Easter speech and go on, sit down and get on out of there now. So every week, and I would get excited to deliver it. Um, Up until the point after it was done and offering and the benediction, and then it's like, oh, then that weight would come and or some nonsense, and the head would start hurting again. So
Yeah.
um, it was
So,
an honor
you are
to
like
deliver.
literally physically, like you physically had headaches.
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, I went there with a headache, and I left with a headache.
Okay.
I didn't want to go. Lord compelled me to go, and I definitely didn't stick around. As I told him when I left, how could I'd be the shepherd of his house when I don't feel welcome in my own house?
Mm, mm,
And the disrespect was real. As a male, we thrive on respect.
yeah.
Um, Now, how bumping up against your faith, do they have to respect you? I don't know. Do they have to respect you? The
Well, I mean,
congregation, does that guy?
well, I
That's a
mean,
theological challenge. You respect the office.
respect the office, right? And I think that's the awesome task that one has in leadership, right? Is protecting the protecting and preserving the the office and separating that from the person or the man, right? Like
Yeah.
to your point, uh, I remember once I had to check a family member in front of other members of the congregation because the family member told me I attended the meeting. It was a meeting for one of the sub ministry groups, and the family member was like, "You ain't even supposed to be here." And it was in
Mm.
front of other members of the body, and I had to correct that. Like, hey, according to the bylaws and according to this church covenant, the pastor is the ex officio. So every meeting is the pastor's meeting. The pastor can show up any meeting the pastor wants to show up in and preside, right? So let's get it
Mm.
straight. And now it wasn't because I was offended, but it's important to set expectations and to set the tone and the environment of the culture, right? Heaven forbid I leave the office and now somebody else is in that role, which now Pastor David is in that role, and somebody rear up at him like that, or someone else, right? Like, even if you don't respect the person, it's important to separate and ensure that the office is respected. And so to that, yeah, I mean, ideally you'd like, people to have an appreciation for the sacrifices that you make in order to maintain the holiness and the respect of the office. But at the same time, the people didn't call you. God called you, and God sent you to that particular ministry and service. And even if they don't respect you, and this is a lesson I had to learn in my own journey and in my own experience, I actually had people working against the ministry to attack me. Right? They're undermining ministry efforts as an attempt to get at me. And I remember, someone very close to me told me, like, you should just, like, it was one of them Job moments, like, you should just curse God and roll. You know what I'm saying? Like, curse God and die, say peace out and be gone. And I remember telling that person, I'm not at liberty to just leave, even though
Nope.
they were cutting up the way they were cutting up. I was not at liberty just to wipe my hands and wash my hands of it and walk away. I had to wait until God gave me pardon. And it was a difficult experience, right? To remain and
Yeah.
to stay there during that. But I do believe that through it, I did learn something about myself, and I was challenged in my faith to live Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. Because if you would have told me that I would have endured what I endured um, before I went through it, in my words of my late grandmother, I'd have told you a bald-faced lie because I'm just not cut like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm from the west side of Chicago. I'm still that. You know what I mean? And I didn't think I had that in me. And so one of the things I learned about myself is I learned how point where you are taking on God-like characteristics that may not be your natural default state, right? Because I can honestly tell you that was not my natural default state. And it showed me about me that what God was doing in me and had done in me up to that point. So I do appreciate that aspect of it and you sharing that. So through that, uh, what give me a short list of takeaways or nuggets that you learned as a result of that experience, that difficult experience.
Um, listen for the Lord. Listening. I would say learning self care.
Mm,
Um,
unpack that for me.
self care could be something that brings you some sort of pleasure, not allow you to internalize it and take it out on others, especially in your household. Um, but really giving certain things, certain situation, and certain people over God, not allowing that ought. Several times I didn't take communion, even though I was conducting communion.
Mm.
Couldn't, couldn't. But
Because you weren't at peace.
just
You weren't at peace.
oh no, I wasn't. I just one time I just got cussed out before we got through preaching. I mean, before preaching, I was like, oh, we're gonna do it like that. So I couldn't. I couldn't. Um, I would say that, and also um, looking for what the Lord is trying to tell you about you. It's easy for us to try to tell somebody about themselves, but what is the Lord like? With any sermon that I do, it always hits me first. I'm like, okay, that's what we're gonna deal with today, Lord,
Even
and
on
that
the
way it
book of
becomes
events.
more. You're gonna bring that one up, huh? I was standing up for a friend, and also what was what should have been on the side of who's on the Lord's side, as Joshua said. Uh, so maybe that wasn't my call, but hey, I was out there. I jump out in deep water. I just jump on out there. So I don't know how to take it light.
Yeah, man.
But that those are some of the crucial things that I learned from that experience. It's made me a little bit. It's made me lighter. It took a year. It's been a year to really let that go, and through that, I've made some peace with even going back to our original church where I began at college and attending over there and hugging some of the same individuals that uh, if they could have took me back then, they probably would have. But I was young and I was not as strong as I am now. But again, and that was enlightening, offloading that baggage with the Lord's help. The wife, Mrs. Taylor, was pointing in some direction, so that was very helpful and alleviating some of that baggage. And I feel lighter. I can have fun in ministry now. I can get up there and have fun.
Good, good. That's beautiful, man. Yeah, there are some of our experience, right? 2 scars over my right eye that are there, and they're part of me, right? They're part of me, but I don't live every day with conscious reflection and thought about them being there, right? Yeah, it wounded me and it's a part of me, but I don't have to be stuck in that position, right? You can heal. And
Right.
it sounds like you got some healing and some closure from that. So I applaud that and celebrate that with you, my brother. That's a beautiful place to be. So let me ask you this question. You mentioned your wife. God blessed you with a
Huh?
wife and 2 lovely sons. How are you adjusting to the shift in the family dynamic as your sons grow in age? One's a freshman in college, undergrad, and the other is a freshman in high school. How y'all doing, man?
It's a great adjustment. It's almost like pledging, something new. The things that you used to do, just like the body. Some things you used to do, you can't do no more because the dynamics don't change. Um, I think that we're on a journey to improve friendship and fellowship, not just being married for the sake of a piece of paper. Because in couple years, there is going to be an empty nester. So what will we have? We ain't gonna get no dog. At least that's my ruling on it. But other than that, learning to have fun with the wife of my youth, and career wise, ministry wise, the Lord's doing things with her, and it's a uh, like amusement park. So you look forward to the fun ride. It's gonna be some ups and gonna be some downs, gonna be some twists, some turns, and it could be that eagle. You go 90 feet, man, you did a straight drop, but you come back up.
All right. As we prepare ourselves to angle towards a close, what is your favorite passage of scripture and why?
2 Samuel 24:24. I will not offer unto the Lord that which costs me nothing. Um, and David's text, he had messed up with Bathsheba, and the Lord had sent judgment, and that the people was going to suffer, things around was going to suffer, but David was going to be protected, and he wanted to make a sacrifice to the Lord. And the guy said, "You are the king." He's going to give it to him. Like, no, that. So David, he may not could volunteer his life for penance for his mistake, but he at least could pay for the sacrifice. It's going to cost us something in this service. If it don't cost you nothing, I would question what you're really doing. So the things that I do for the Lord, it costs me some time. It costs me some things I may want to do, some things that I want to say, and I think how I want to do things. And within that reminder is that God's grace and mercy and His love and what He has for you to do. And so why shouldn't I try to do what's reasonable, which is my offer up my body, which as a living sacrifice? Because I know where I've been, know what I've done, know what I've said, but He still keeps calling my name. So yeah, I will not offer unto the Lord that which costs me nothing. So I got to sit in the house and not go out with frat or go out with my big brother and have a steak dinner or something like that. Or I can't cuss out Sister Sally and everybody else and turn the altar upside down and throw grape juice on top of their head. Because the Lord's calling is bigger than what I want to do.
It's better grape juice.
So that's why.
Better grape juice. All right, I got you. Appreciate you. All right, so which song summarizes your season of life right now? If you had to pin a song to it, what would that song be?
I can't tell it all. I can't tell it all. It's a lot to tell. I can't tell it all. Some things people are not ready for, and sometimes some things people won't give me enough time to really tell it because it's some dips, some ands, some commas, there's some secondary clauses in there, part B, part C, part D, but I can't tell it all.
All right. Okay. Well, Pastor Taylor, listen, I appreciate you for joining us here today. As we prepare to wrap this session of our midday meditation, what word of encouragement would you like to leave with our listening audience?
I'm going to refer to Psalms 30, verses 4 and 5. And I would like for anyone to think of themselves as a singer. And that if you know anything about singing, you got pitch, you got rhythm, you got breath. And that word singing in Hebrew, when you unpack it, it really comes down to praise. How loud is your praise in your situation? How well are you holding the rhythm to your faith? It's things to this journey that we're going to go through, but the Lord has given us the words to the song. He's playing the instruments. So the only thing we got to do is to keep the rhythm and keep the pitch and go along with our praise, even when you don't want to. We can praise. We get loud at sports games. We get loud when the choir is singing.
Yeah.
Get loud when you're going through something. And if you can get loud, hey, you're praising God. I'm pretty sure, and I know for a fact there's a blessing behind your praise or following your praise if you can do it in the midst of uncomfortable times.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's special, man. That'll preach. Wilson, Taylor, listen, we appreciate you this afternoon for sharing your thoughts and wisdom and breaking a little bread, the bread of life with us here this afternoon. So to each of you, we're glad you all were able to join us. Be sure to tune back in next week for another edition of the Christ Disciples Baptist Church of Chicago's Midday Meditation. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. All right, y'all.
Peace.